Up next, we have Louise, who is a UX designer at Rapid7, who is passionate about creating meaningful experiences and effective solutions through design. She'll deliver her 30-minute talk, Somewhere Beyond the Screens, UX in the Real World.
Hi folks. As mentioned, I'm going to talk about some real-life examples of UX that's everywhere and how that can inform our decisions when we're building products. Okay, so about me, as mentioned, UX designer at Rapid7, been there for 5 years now. I was also co-organiser of Belfast JS for 2 years, and then I'm also an illustrator and graphic designer. I am also a millennial dog mum, that is my girl Peps, and you might have seen some of my designs about the place. I'm the resident B-sides girl, apparently. Okay, so user experience. It encompasses all aspects of the end user's interaction with the company, its services and products. Don Norman coined the term in 1993 whilst working as a user experience architect in Apple. I would highly recommend if anybody's more interested in more kind of UX in real life, read this book because it's actually what got me into UX in general. But as mentioned as well, it exists beyond technical screens and interfaces and technical products. And the thing about design is if it's done well, you can barely notice it. And if it's done badly, you notice it immediately. So we're going to do a little bit of an interaction thing. Raise a hand if you've ever pulled a push door. Okay, it's a classic. Have you ever put a USB in the wrong way before the right way? Yeah. Have you ever struggled to find how to turn off the lights in a hotel room? Yeah.
I think you're trying to trigger all of us.
Right. And also flipped every other switch in the upstairs light before going to bed. That's a daily thing for me. Yep. These are just a few examples of how we experience design and user experience in our daily lives. So I'm going to talk about a few more kind of examples into 3 categories: places, products, and people. So places. Story time. In 2023, my sister and I were trapped in Charles de Gaulle Airport for 2.5 hours. What happened? Bad signage meant we were confused. So essentially, we got out of the gate, went to departures, it was all fine. We did everything right, and then just couldn't find our way about it. And what I will say about Charles de Gaulle Airport anyway is it's a bit of a maze. You have to go up, to go down, to go left, to go right. It's a massive, pain in the arse. But anyway, so then, as well, trains were cancelled. So we had to get a train from the airport to our apartment. And because of the aforementioned signage, we were lost. We didn't know where to get the bus, all that. As well, some staff were helpful in the end, but some were not. And overall, we felt quite stressed and quite stupid after the whole thing. So when we think about that experience and those kind of things that went wrong, we can translate those into real, product scenarios. So for example, always think about your first time user experience. That's the first time anybody interacts with your product or service. So essentially, whilst power users, who are people that have more experience with what you offer, and in this case, frequent flyers, may have known their way about, we didn't because we were new to that airport. And the same can be said for products. Also as well, understand your user goals and jobs to be done. In this instance, my sister and I, we had tickets to an event, so we were in a rush. And I dare say most people in an airport are rushing to get out. All of those pain points and frictions, so the bad signage, the lack of customer service, the lack of notification, say, of that the trains were off, meant that we couldn't do what we set out to do, and we were really late. So then also communication's key. So what could have solved that kind of experience there was here it's good onboarding, clear guidance, documentation and notifications. That's, our product speak, but in real life that would be good signage, arrows pointing in the right direction, and a notification somewhere that the trains were not going to be running. And also as well, what I will say is this quote. When I was researching this talk, I came across that an article, so it's good and validating that I'm not alone in this experience. So other kind of experiences or places that we experience in daily lives are shops. There's actual psychology and craft with regards to shop layout design, and it's supposed to, create a certain atmosphere. There's different things that retailers can do, such as creating logical store flows, having kind of certain products placed in certain areas for impulse purchases. There's also things like lighting, music, scent and colour that it can evoke certain emotions. I think it's actually as well, Subway actually pipes that smell of the sandwiches outside, so it's not actually the sandwiches being baked. So certain things like that. But then, and also, sorry, I love this as well, this article. So it's like, if my shopping cart has a wobbly wheel, I swear to God. I love that. Okay. But why was Hollister so dark? For the vibes, the company wanted to make the experience feel like a club to target the younger demographic. So this was strategic. The dark and loud environment, whilst for some of us we were like, what? We couldn't find any sizes, and it was even disorienting. For the target audience, it actually was part of the brand's appeal. So takeaways. There are evident similarities about the principles of UX design and shop design psychology. So for example, parity could be between shop layout design and how we architect our navigation menus. There's also, product placement and visual architecture. We place things on certain screens so they're viewed easier, etc. Clear signage, zoning, and usability, my finding. So like aisle signs help the users navigate through the shops. Another priority is also negative attitudes about queuing and negative attitudes about loading states, because in my opinion, they're exactly the same. But with this as well, bad, obviously, shop design, we've all experienced it, especially at Christmas. It can be very, very frustrating, and you sometimes just want to abandon your shopping trolley and walk out. It's the same can be said again for those loading states, like how many customers would immediately refresh if they were just looking at a spinner for 10 minutes. We can also utilise UI things such as, theming, branding, colours, micro-interactions to evoke or bring our brands forward when we're creating user experiences. So for example, in our Hollister design, like they did the same thing. It was part of their brand identity, and while some people, might not understand intentions with designs or brands, your target user should. So, people. Customer service and service design is probably one of the core things, and probably one of the most overlooked things that we can provide as experienced designers. It plays a pivotal role in shaping how we experience products and services. So, for example, like if you're out for a meal, say somewhere, if the waiter comes over constantly topping up your water, asking how you are, reading you the specials, those kind of things, that can elevate the experience. But say if you're trying to wave them down for the bill and they ignore you, like that's going to cause frustration, and they're less likely to get a tip. So another kind of form of service design, I suppose, or customer service would be behind the phone. Raise your hand if you've ever been annoyed when you ring a customer service helpline only to be greeted with press 1 to continue. Okay? You're not alone. It's a sentiment that's been echoed by almost anybody that's been pushed through the interactive voice response system, IVRs. 88% of customers saying that they prefer to speak with a human being rather than fiddler with a phone menu, essentially. But why? The users understand and know that the IVR systems themselves are not going to be the ones that can help solve their problem. It's a bottleneck, and it's just adding more time and frustration. And again, there's certain things that machines can do, but users want to speak to a human being that can have empathy and can actually understand their problems. So some takeaways. The user journey includes customer support. So the service service the team provides shapes the overall experience for the user. Or companies can get a bad rep. We can also, as UX designers, we're very fortunate in the company that I work for that we have access to our customer support teams, because they hear straight from the horse's mouth the customer's pain points, even some ideas of how we can help solve some of those problems, and they're a powerful resource for us. Also then on the automated systems, whilst they look like a more efficient, method of communication and probably are more cost effective for companies, users still crave that human interaction when they have a problem, as mentioned. I also think as well it's important to keep our personas and customer base in mind when digitising certain systems. So, GP appointment bookings and banking. has become increasingly automated over the last few years, and we need to also consider the older or potentially more vulnerable people and ensure that essential systems remain accessible to them. Also then as well, something that we can take away to implement in our own daily practice is help documentation. So ensure language is simple, human, accurate, and the tone is friendly. And also then you can provide links as well to customer support. Products. So Heinz ketchup, saucy revolution. In 1876, Heinz released the first taste of tomato ketchup. Taste, 10 out of 10. Looks, 10 out of 10. Practicality, 0 out of 10. We've all had that kind of interaction, I think, with a glass ketchup bottle at one point. So 111 years later, plastic, the squeezy bottle was invented. Or they, put tomato ketchup in a squeezy bottle. Whilst, yes, it solved one problem, which is how do you get tomato ketchup out of the bottle, it caused other problems. So, for example, the sauce would gather at the bottom of the bottle and be impossible to get out, so stored upside down. But the bottle itself was bottom heavy, and would topple if placed lid down. I remember having one of those big, bottles of tomato ketchup in my fridge, and it was just constantly leaning against the milk to try and, get the sauce out. Also, as well, from a UI perspective, the label then, its readability suffered when you obviously turned it upside down. So, in 2003, 16 years later from that, and 22 years since, we've the new improved ketchup bottle. So why is it good? Wider caps, they implemented wider caps to stop the bottle from falling over. They changed the orientation of the bottle and also reversed the label to ensure customers could read it much easier. They actually revolutionised how packaging for certain products, they've kind of set a standard now, I would say. And even toothpaste, shampoos, they all kind of use this upside down packaging. This also as well highlights the importance of user observation, testing and consistent research. So, what was it? 1876 till 2025, tomato ketchups existed. One thing I will say as well is it's a testament to how we can use the MVP as such of a product to inspire new learnings. So, there's certain usability factors today that I'm sure in 1876 the inventors didn't even think would be a problem. But also let this serve as a reminder that the true value of a product could be in its ingredients, but how the vessel and how that kind of product gets to the customers is also equally as important, and it's rarely a one and done unless it is. So, while some products have evolved, like the ketchup bottle, others have stood the test of time, such as Lego. Reasons for success is it's timeless, it's simple, it's intuitive, the quality's never changed. But what I would also say is the Lego team have been very smart, and they've also evolved its marketing approach over the years to maintain its relevancy, I suppose. This includes, working with brands, creating that community, and drive as well to maintain relevance. And the humble safety pin. So it was, crafted in 1849 and is a perfect example of functional, simple engineering that remains efficient and fit for purpose to this day. So again, evolution, how can we make our products evolve? Just look at the core principles of UX. So usability, can people use it without needing an enormous amount of instruction? Can everybody use it regardless of comfortability? And desirability, does it look and feel appealing enough that people want to use it? And usefulness, does it actually solve a problem? Safety pin kind of checks out a lot of those things, though in saying that I don't think it's the most attractive thing, but it does a job. And also then, as mentioned, the Lego team has also put methods in place to ensure that the product stays desirable for customers. And these are lessons as well that bridge that gap between the physical world and our digital experiences. So I'm going to say some big words, sorry. Skeuomorphism and haptics. Skeuomorphism is the design concept where icons or artifacts resemble their real-life counterparts, either through texture, touch, or look and feel. Its purpose as well was to make users feel more comfortable and familiar with new technology. For example, the old Apple iOS utilised this quite a lot. And then it works in tandem with haptics. Haptics are the feedback mechanisms that make interactions feel real through touch. From 2023 to 2017, icons and UI elements became more minimalist and abstract and diverged from their original real-life origins, and this was known as flat design. Early kind of flat designs often suffered from some, issues with legibility, recognizability, and also users didn't think that they were clickable. So that means now in recent times, and especially through, say, Apple's new liquid glass UI, we're in an age of neumorphism, where essentially it's meeting in the middle and using subtle, effects and 3D and UI tweaks to make things feel a little bit more real, but also sleek. But the digital is also informing our physical world. So it goes without saying that the pandemic kind of transformed how we interact with the world and people and spaces around us. But I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's kind of almost felt invisible, this kind of technical revolution as such. We have smart home devices, the evolution of even streaming services. They've all kind of, the digital kind of revolution has kind of, reshaped how we, do things. Like, for example, in 2009, that was in my bag, and now it's that. Just one phone that does it all. But as well, with any revolution, there's a sense of rebellion and nostalgia. And Gen Z have to invent everything, So with the resurgence of record players, DVDs, digital cameras, it's kind of nice because there's a renewed appreciation for the tangible physicality of experiences. So in conclusion, good design works in harmony with human experience. Everybody's going to evolve, and even, God knows what 10 years down the line, what technology could look like. Humans are diverse and ever-changing, as we know. So therefore, hopefully the takeaways from this conversation is to just have empathy and understand where users are coming from. Because whilst we might not be the users of our products and services that we build, we are still users of products and services. So it's everywhere, not just behind our screens. That's me.
Amazing, thank you. Any questions? I can pass the microphone around, and then it gets picked up in the recording. No questions? I thought it was fab.
Oh, thank you very much.
Another round of applause. Oh, you got a question? Okay, I'll bring it down.
Thanks, Louise. Awesome talk, as always. Are you willing to call out or to name any particularly egregious UI or UX examples you've seen recently in the past year or so? Thank you.
Plus, as well, today, this room was renamed as well, and that kind of caused a bit of a stir because it's usually 1A or 1B, but then it's Divish room. Where the hell is that? Is that one of the conference rooms? It kind of all adds to that overall experience.
Any other questions? Okay. No? All right. Thank you again.